Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
It is the final day of the month, March 31st, Wednesday, and we got some news today too. I'm a little hype. I not just because, today is likely to be a big trading day, but I want to see what April is going to be like. So let's go to the charts here and see what happened overnight. And it looks like things pretty constrained after yesterday. So I would say, so here's the thing. Yesterday was difficult, wouldn't you say? I mean, for me, it was difficult, and I was able to, cheat and resort to market making and make it back with a couple of contracts, which wouldn't necessarily recommend doing. I kept trading it later in the day, and I actually did catch this little move up. So let's not say that there's not opportunity. There's definitely opportunity that we can make. It's just you either got it or you don't in this kind of action. So that's how we kind of got to play it. But let's remember, not only do we have the month-end flows going on today, but we have some, let's see here, what economic news do we got? We got Canadian PPIs and, we had the ADP employment, which was 517 versus 550. So actually less than expected on that. We got Chicago PMI. That tends to be a big number. Pending home sales is okay. So anyways, to the Treasury here in the 10-year, they did retrace some of this. I'm not quite sure what all of this dumping was, but I think it's over. We'll see if we get the month-end buying flow again today or not. I mean, some of that upside might have been that. It was an okay up move. It's just pales in comparison to that down, right? Oil, also constrained, right? Gold was just terrible yesterday. Oh, it's time for us to switch some of our charts over, huh? Database management rollover. Okay. Anyways, gold just took a dive yesterday. Not going much of anywhere today. Same with silver. Man, those two just look terrible. Gold, copper is okay a little bit, but it's just kind of been hasn't done much the past month or so. It was so great, and then the past month it's just kind of been sideways. Now, when we come over here and we look at the dollar, maybe some signs of weakness finally. Now, a lot of this strength apparently is coming from Japan. All right. So there's a lot of inflows coming from Japan, which I think kind of supports the idea that they might come and buy treasuries. Right. But they did finally take a significant tumble. That's the most significant tumble that we've seen in a couple of weeks. So we want to keep an eye on that. Some dollar weakness may start to come in, which would be good for the broader market. And then I should cover also over here Bitcoin. So Bitcoin getting rejected off of that 60,000 level again. I'm not going to say that it's going to come all the way back to the other side of the channel. I don't know how likely that is. It could happen. Obviously, the entire Bitcoin community is really dedicated towards it going higher, and I'm reading that there are options all the way up at 70, 80, 120. They all think that it's going to keep going. Also, there was, as we mentioned yesterday, Bitcoin micro futures coming along. I don't know if that really changes anything, but it's a thing. It's a thing. Also yesterday in Bitcoin, the Tether put out their attestation about their reserves. Basically just saying that the money was there. But when you go in and you read it, they mentioned that it's not all dollars. That some of it is in securities and some of it is in digital assets. Or, in other words, Bitcoins. So they're buying Bitcoin with Tether, and then they're backing the Tether. It's a fractional reserve, guys. Oh, don't get me started. It's so mind-boggling to me. All of these Bitcoin guys are like, their primary argument is the Federal Reserve is going to devalue our currency, and you need to buy Bitcoin to hedge against it. So what? We buy a currency that is also backed by a fractional reserve, even more so than the Federal Reserve compared to its value? It's just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. I'm way over leveraged in Doge. Oh man, I don't get the Doge thing, man. How have they been doing? I mean, it hasn't been terrible in Doge, has it? I don't give financial advice, but I would rather die before I buy Dogecoin. Like that's how against it I am. Just the issuance is too much. You're not gonna hold it. Oh, so they're still at 5 cents? Really? Okay. Wow, that's not terrible. You know what's been going off lately is this Coin, which I'm kind of surprised. But look at that. Look at that. It's not bad. It's not bad, the Coin. I think I still have like 1,000 of that or something like that. But obviously nowhere close to the all-time high, right? But I think it's going up because like they're gonna get on a new exchange and things like that. But we came over here to look at Dogecoin. Okay, so they're still kind of in the channel from where they were. I think what you're gonna see is it's just gonna very, very slowly come back down, but it'll be slow. But I think that the amount of coins being put out onto the market is more than the number of people trying to buy it. So we can go and look at the garlic coin too if you want. Garlic coin. It's funny compared to the initial thing. This kind of bump looks kind of like nothing, but also interesting that, this move right here, when it happened, seemed really dramatic, but now it doesn't look so much. But, their issue in garlic coin is they need to be on a better exchange. They need a better exchange because this thing is just ready to pop off. It didn't take much. Look, it only takes a few $1,000s to push it up there. Can you imagine what would happen to this thing if somebody pumped $1 million into it? Not saying that if you have $1 million, you should do that. But it's just waiting. But they need a better exchange. Okay, so we are going to get some Canadian numbers coming in here in a second. No U.S. numbers. I didn't expect us to react super strongly to it. And we should note that we are a little bit higher than we were yesterday, but not significantly. Are you familiar with Hex? I've heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it. It's not one of those quote-unquote DeFi coins, is it? Problem for me is that I honestly appreciate your input as well as quite a few other streamers, and there are so many who are positive, and a lot of people are as reasonable. Well, so here's how you sort that out, killer. Don't follow people. If there's anything that you get from watching my stream, it should be this. Don't follow other people. Don't rely on other people for your analysis. The chances are that if it is anything close to a reasonable analysis that is popular, it will already be factored into the market. To do well at what we're doing here, you have to be able to do it yourself. You have to be able to go in and look at the facts and come to a good conclusion. And you need to be able to find inefficiencies in the market that the majority of people can't find. If you can't find those inefficiencies on your own or together as a small group like we do, you are extremely unlikely to have any success day trading or frankly, even actively managing things. Right? So, if there's people that are positive on Dogecoin, what kind of empirical evidence do they have? And all I'm saying is that Dogecoin, the key factor that you have to consider over there is the number of new coins that are created every day. And I'm saying that the number of new coins that are created every day vastly overwhelms the number of retail day traders trying to buy it on hype. Their evidence is tweets by Musk. Well, like Musk have tweeted about it like one time. Okay. But what has it done since then? Hasn't really gone anywhere. For Dogecoin to have another bump like that, you would need another huge event. What are you think the chances that you're going to get another huge event like that? Yeah, I have a general idea that even well-intentioned advice isn't usually as good as you'd hope. Yeah. Dude, the vast majority of stuff that I hear, like I just read Reddit obsessively. I wouldn't say it's obsessive, but I go and I try and read every thread on Reddit related to day trading that I can. I when I go in and I do my nightly reading of Reddit, I sort it by new. I have a little multi-Reddit of all of the day trading subreddits, and I sort it by new, and I keep going down until I find ones that I remember or that I clicked on. Okay. And almost everything that I read, especially on the day trading subreddit in particular, is complete nonsense. It's either complete nonsense or it's stuff that like almost everybody should figure out on their own, you know? Like I can come and show you in my back tests how implementing a daily loss limit can be an effective way to improve your portfolio's Sharpe ratio. Okay. But like everybody knows that you should have a daily loss limit, right? Right? Who is not trading with a daily loss limit? I'm sure that every beginner maybe knows that maybe they should, but maybe they don't. You know what I mean? And that's ultimately the problem, is that to have an edge, well, let me rephrase. The problem with Reddit, excuse me, the whole idea behind Reddit is you put something out there, and if it's popular, people will upvote it. Okay? Well, with trading, that doesn't work, because what is popular is already going to be factored into the market. So the things that are really going to give you an edge aren't going to be things that you find on Reddit, or they're going to be at the bottom of the heap. That's why I say, like, if you're looking for a resource to find things, I would look to scholarly papers. Yeah, that's stuff that's out in the public, but it's going to be things that at least retail traders don't know, and you might be able to extend. Because at least then you know that you are looking at the most recent publicly known things about the market, you know? I don't perfectly understand how cryptos work, because I'm not sure if I'd understand what all these different coins do, even if I could program. But to address your concern, well, so on that point, honestly, what is Bitcoin worth? It's entirely dependent on how much people are willing to spend on it and how many people want to do it. That's 100% that. And the more utility that a coin has, theoretically, the more people that will want to buy it to use the coin, right? But Bitcoin is kind of a special case here in this instance. I don't, rightly or wrongly, because their argument is that you shouldn't use it. So they're like, oh, well, we're popular enough that you don't want people to use it. We want it to be a store of value. But how can it be a store of value if there's not a constant influx of people that want to buy it so that they can use it? So that's why you get all this weird stuff like PayPal yesterday saying that you can do the Bitcoin stuff, right? It's like, yes, you can go and you can pay their merchants with Bitcoin, but you're not actually paying them with Bitcoin. What happens is you can buy Bitcoin from PayPal. It will sit in your account as Bitcoin, and then you can choose. They will convert it to dollars for you, and then you can send your merchant dollars. So you're not actually using Bitcoin, right? It's just you're storing your coins as Bitcoins, but you're not storing them. PayPal is storing them, so you don't actually own the coins. And if there is a precipitous drop in Bitcoin, who knows what happens to you then, right? I understand blockchain, but not the purpose of crypto. Well, I think that the main reason they did it was because they wanted to create a currency that wasn't run by a government. I'm not so sure that you want that. Well, here, this Tether thing is the one that I think is exactly why, frankly. Here you've got this coin. Where is all of this buying come from? People are saying that it's coming from corporate coming in. I don't see any evidence of that. There was Michael Saylor and there was Elon Musk buying it with their companies. I don't see anybody else doing it. I don't see anybody else following in with them. And where is the money coming from to move Bitcoin up? And when you really look into the data, everything that I've seen shows that when there is a prince in Tether, when Tether issues new Tether, that's when the Bitcoin price goes up. Okay. So then let's look at Tether. Where is that money coming from, Tether? Does Tether really have $30 billion worth of money stashed away that people have given them? They don't, guys. I'm telling you, they don't have $30 billion. So now the question becomes, what they claim that they have $30 billion in assets. Okay, so they don't have $30 billion in dollars, but they do have $30 billion in dollars, gold, securities, and coins. So how much of that is actually coins? Because every bit of that is coins, the only reason that it is the price that it is because they've been printing Tether, right? So now you can go back and we will know in May, supposedly we will know in May, how much of that is coins, and we can deduct that through, and that's how much money is going to have to come out of Bitcoin when this crashes. Right? So that's how I present it. So the whole point of that was not, Seth is right, the whole point of that was this. What is like the actual real argument? Can I go back and verify that stuff for myself? Okay, yes, you can. You can go and read the attestation that Tether made yesterday that shows that some of their reserves are in digital assets. Right? You can go and you can look at the data, which is all over the place, that Tether prints are highly predictive of big moves up in Bitcoin. Right? These are all like verifiable facts. So then go back and look at what other people are saying. Can you do that with the things that they're saying? Or is their argument something more like this? Oh my gosh, Bitcoin is the hype. Everybody wants to buy this and more people are going to buy it. The corporations are going to come in and it's going to push Bitcoin higher. Well, that's all speculative, right? There's no data, information, anything behind that you can use to say, how likely is their scenario to play out? Your guess is as good as theirs. So don't follow other people. That's what I say. Well, the treasuries went down to the low of the range here, and then they bumped right back up. And when I'm looking at the cumulative delta, it does look positive. I must also say that the E-mini has a pretty solid and consistent uptrend going overnight and into now. Yeah, using the PayPal system isn't wallet. That's correct. Now it says, honestly, I trust the government. Well, like the whole thing that irritates me about what's been going on lately is that I feel like the government is asleep at the wheel. Here you got these guys, they're buying it all up on a fractional reserve banking, and no regulators getting involved on this. They must think that they're going to make money from it too, and they don't want to step in. Right? That's the only conclusion I can make, is that like the New York Attorney General was like the only ones willing, because why isn't the SEC getting involved? I can't for the life of me understand why the SEC or the CFTC aren't getting involved, because they should. And I see this all over the place. I see fraud on a daily basis. Here I get these situations where people are promoting products that and they make claims about the products that they essentially know aren't true. And they got all of these people that they pay to help them promote it. And the people that they pay to help them promote it have admitted that they know that it doesn't work, and they're just trying to get the money from it. And you go and you send reports to the CFTC, the FTC, every letter agency you can think of that has a report form, and nothing ever happens. What the hell are these guys doing? Well, they went and they got the RagingBull.com guys finally. After they had been running that scam for how long? Good effing grief. But you know what? If the government did their job, it would be great. Ever since the government was like, are those freaking aliens? Do you think this is aliens? I've trusted them slightly more. So I was reading something about that the other day. So people in government think it's aliens. Okay. So, this is kind of, well, hold on. Why do they think it's aliens? Because other governments are having the exact same sightings. Okay. So they have confirmed sightings like this in China and in Russia. And so I think that the first inclination would have been, this is some technology that another government has that we're not aware of yet. But because so many are seeing it, that was interesting. I'm going to hit into it anyways. There we go. Because so many other governments have seen sightings and it seems like they don't know what it is either, I think that's why they believe that it's aliens. Now, that is kind of gets interesting at that point, because if it was aliens and the government had recovered craft or, alien bodies at one time, you think that it would be, that they would just go, oh, no, we totally know that there's aliens. Here's everything we know about them. And, it wouldn't be a thing. But instead it's, there's these what appear to be aircraft flying around that defy the laws of physics, and we don't know how it's working. And there are important people in the government that seem to think it's aliens. The whole thing is just really interesting, isn't it? When is that? July 1st, when we'll get more information? We can sort through the evidence. Oh, look at that. The 07 half pulled away. That's good. Yeah, it looks like the E-mini is going to go for overnight highs, too. I don't think I want to buy that particular location, but get friend request. So just so that you guys know, on Discord, you don't have to send me a friend request to send me a message. I accept all messages from all people. So you can just message me on Discord. You don't have to add me as a friend. And yes, I get a lot of messages. It's fine. That's my job. Is to get a lot of messages and respond to them. Okay, let's see here. We should go into Twitter. Oh, yeah. I mentioned earlier, but I don't know if I really went into it, but Biden is going to be presenting his infrastructure plan. It's expected that he won't propose a wealth tax, but that he will propose that the tax rate will go up to 28%, which I think is high compared to the rest of the world. And I really don't think that taxing corporations works very well. But I don't know. I'm sure that when you go and you look at the tax receipts, that you will see that it is more than last year, just because tax receipts tend to go up anyways. And it will end up being a wash. Goldman is close to offering investment vehicles for Bitcoin, says CNBC. So here's another thing that I don't understand, okay? Hear me out. Why do you need an investment vehicle to invest in Bitcoin? That makes no sense. Makes zero sense. If you just want to buy Bitcoin, it's not like gold, okay? It's not like gold where there's this huge cost for holding gold, right? Why do you need an investment vehicle to invest in Bitcoin? If you want to invest in Bitcoin, here's what you do. Go create an account at Coinbase. Transfer some money from your bank account to your Coinbase account. Buy Bitcoin at the current price. You are now invested in Bitcoin. It's that simple. Why do you need now? If you wanted an investment vehicle to invest in the cryptocurrency field as a whole, and you wanted somebody else to manage buying coins and what are they, reallocating the profits equally across all of the coins that are out there, or the most popular 1,000 coins or whatever it is, that would make sense. But all this stuff about like we need a Bitcoin ETF, and why? Why do you need that? Or even worse, Grayscale Trust, Bitcoin Trust. Why? Why do you need that? Why don't you just buy it yourself? I don't get it. Well, I guess one problem is that the exchange crashes or you have a wallet, your wallet gets hacked. But at that point, it's like, I feel like that the need for somebody else to manage Bitcoin for you kind of destroys the whole point of Bitcoin even existing. So the whole point is that you don't need these intermediaries. You know what I mean? Like, it's just mind-bogglingly stupid. I don't understand how people square this away in their heads. This guy, Satoshi, he creates this coin. He says, I'm creating this coin so that you don't have to rely on banks and large institutions and stuff to manage your money. You can just have your own wallet and you can manage it all yourself. And then everybody comes out, Bitcoin's going to go up because all of these banks and people that are going to manage the coin for us are going to come in and buy it. What? It has to go up. Well, here's the thing is because of the Tether, I think that there was some opportunities here recently for Bitcoin to fall apart. And really, like, there's so much leverage gone into it that it could really fall precipitously very quickly, probably faster than it fell in 2017. Just to warn you, right? But the sorts of things that would have triggered the fall, that would have really truly like ended it and caused that to happen, because of Tether, it doesn't happen anymore. So it seems to me that as long as the government regulators are asleep at the wheel, that Bitcoin will just continue going up. When they talk about the ETF, I would think they mean that they want to diversify to try and take advantage of the professional management of the portfolio, which will seek the speculative advantage. But you're probably right that that's a terrible line of reasoning. Yeah, well, you don't want them to necessarily trade it. Well, an ETF, that wouldn't really be an ETF at that point, right? So if they're going to trade it, then you're a hedge fund, and you would have to be a qualified investor to buy into that. And such investment vehicles already exist. But to be like a mutual fund or a passive fund on something like that, you have to be, what they're doing basically is just managing the asset allocation, right? Which is important and is worth paying for. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you don't think that the fund is worth paying for, try taking your money and keeping it allocated in the S&P 500 efficiently. It's not easy. And then try doing it with a large sum of money. It's not easy. Oh, well, they took 06 half. They're not holding a strong offer there, but they are holding. They do got it there. And I'm wondering, they didn't have enough going into the high, so they might need to wait a little bit if they're going to go higher in the treasuries. They could go back to the bottom of it. I'm putting my money where I told you not to. God. Ace, you see what you did? He's not here yet. He'll be here in like 5-10 minutes, though. We could maybe get a long signal here. Finally, by the way. He will be here and the money will start flowing. Oh, man. Yeah, I try not to look at Bitcoin anymore because it's like, knowing what I know, there is no way that I can invest in that thing. It's terrifying to me. But then I look at it and I'm like, it's probably going to go up. It's probably going to go higher than 60K. I'm surprised that they bounced off of it as hard as they did here overnight, to be honest. It has been prophesized. I need to turn on the text-to-speech little interface there. There we go. I'll read you guys over there so that I can keep an eye on Twitter. Blaine, the market has 1929, 1987, 2000 written in bold letters all over it. Okay. You know what's something that's kind of funny to me? That it just kind of crossed my mind reading that, is I don't think I have ever seen a time in my adult life. I can remember watching the news in the late 90s when it was just like everything was bullish. But in my adult life, when I'm actually watching the news and understanding what's going on and everything, I don't think there has ever been a period where they haven't been talking about the quote unquote recovery in markets. Because there was the recovery after the 2001 thing, and they were, by 2008, they were still recovering from that. And then they've basically said that we're in a recovery this whole time since 2008, which it's been more than just a recovery. But I think the part of the reason why people say that is because interest rates really never got back to, a historical average level. And then you had this thing, and now we're in a recovery again. And I'm like, so how long are we going to be in the recovery again? Is it going to be all the way until, for the next 10 years? Make the recovery great again. I don't know, man. That's one of those things where you just said the right thing to get the gears turning, right? I feel like that America was always great. Obviously, there's problems. Maybe was not quite as great as maybe it was in the late 50s when we were like the top dog in the whole world and the economic engine was running at full steam. Okay, but there was some unusual circumstances attending that. I don't think that we can expect to see that level of success all the time. But were we great? Yeah. Maybe not as great as we were. Were there problems? Were there things? Could we have been greater? Yes. But I think that we were always great and we're great now. But I look at a lot of things that are going on, and I kind of feel like that the world as we know it, or as we knew it, is just going away. And nobody's talking about it. Half the country's oblivious to what's going on. And like there's like literally nothing you can do. And of course, there's some things that are going to be rescinded that Donald Trump did. And you would think that that would always be the case. For instance, taxes. Okay, they introduced tax cuts. We all knew that the Democrats were going to come in and try and increase everybody's taxes. We all knew that, right? Everybody said that they were going to raise taxes, and they said, oh, well, we're not going to raise taxes on everybody, just the rich. Okay, we'll see about that one. But the proposal that I'm hearing, though, does sound like they're gonna tax corporations to pay for it, which is technically taxing you, but I digress. Okay, immigration, that one is a little, that one obviously makes me mad, but we knew that Democrats were going to rescind his policies. It was just reflexive. Like, come on. They do not act on that in accordance with like what is the best for the country or for the people in the country. They want people to come in so that they have more voters. Straight up. Everybody knows it. And the way that they behave on this is not in accordance with what is the best for people or their safety or anything like that. You can't say that because, come on, all of this, a lot of people die every year from crime related to illegal immigration. And there are a lot of people stuck on the border in what is a humanitarian crisis. You can't say that that's what is in people's best interests. It just doesn't match up, right? No, it's for voters. But we knew that was going to happen, right? But then you get into the stuff that's really like, okay, you're not going to be able to go to this. You're going to be restricted to what time you can go to the store based on whether or not you've had the vaccine. No, you can't do that. That's not constitutional. And if the government can do that, they can do anything, man. It's just they just have to come up with the excuse. They just have to say, "Oh, well, it's the best for people, for everybody." YouTube banning Steven Crowder was the other thing that happened yesterday, right? Because he claims it was because he expressed a conservative opinion, and conservative opinions aren't welcome on YouTube. I'm not so sure that that's the case. I think that the excuse that they're using is that he showed addresses of registered voters that were basically parking lots and therefore had to have been fraudulent. And YouTube didn't like that. And I just can't, like, how you can justify banning people over that. And people say, they can do that on Twitter. They can do that on all of the major platforms. If you have an opinion that the Democrat Party doesn't like, you basically can be banned from the internet. A place where for my whole life it has been no holds bar. You can say whatever the heck you want. And I've seen people say so many stupid things, man. And I remember so much drama in my younger years on forums over people saying shit. And now they really let people that were liberal at the time run amok and destroy communities, frankly. Like, there was the communities that were really great, and then these people came in and were just like, oh, well, we have freedom of speech and we can be assholes to everybody and make it so that nobody wants to be on the forum anymore, right? And now it's like, oh, you have to be nice to everybody. You can't say anything. It's just ridiculous. Brandon Robbins says dead on. I don't recall what Ruth Bader Ginsburg's opinion on the healthcare mandate was, but the legal opinion, I mean, what their role in government, I think, is irrelevant. What is relevant is whether or not it was a tax and if it was passed correctly. And the whole argument that it's not a tax but it was a tax was just ridiculous, was stupid. This is funny. $1,000 move in Bitcoin to zero hedge is like a huge news all the time. Probably because they get a lot of clicks on it. But the headline they're pushing out right now is that cryptocurrencies flash crash overnight. Okay. And here's the thing, is like a slippery slope argument is a logical fallacy. Just because something has been going in one direction doesn't mean that it will continue to go in one direction. And that is definitely something that I've seen a lot, is like people will say that, well, here's the next thing that's going to happen, and then the pendulum swings the other direction. But this time the pendulum has swung the other direction so fast and so far, it is terrifying. And like, what is if the vaccine passport becomes a thing, which in some areas of the country it will, what's the next thing they're going to do? That line of reasoning about what counts as a tax is interesting, kind of like how people, well, yeah, except for that, like, here's my opinion on it. Let me explain myself on that one. If you have to put it on your tax form and submit it every year, and the amount of money that you owe to the IRS increases because of you not having that coverage, it's a tax. I don't get what's complicated, or, you can count it as this, or no, it's a tax. You pay it to the IRS. You put it on your tax form. It's a tax. Okay. And for them to have come out and say that it was not a tax, but then it was a tax is just, oh my gosh, ridiculous. No, just look at China. What's going to happen? China restructuring society the way China is, the trick will be doing it without all of the oppression and gulags. I don't think that what China is doing is sustainable. Here's what I think is going to happen. The economic prosperity is going to drop off, because really what was going on in China was you had this really huge population that was dirt poor, and they brought millions of people out of poverty and into the modern world. They were only able to do that with the help of the West, with trade with the West and all of the capitalism coming in and taking advantage of that, right? What happens when the spigot turns off? What happens when they aren't growing 10% every year? They're growing the same percentage that every other country is, right? It might take 10, 20 years. What is going to happen? What happens when people in China are having the same kinds of anger and dissension, I guess, that we're having in the United States? Because in the United States, we have a political system, supposedly, that allows us to address those kinds of things, right? China ain't got nothing. They've got nothing they can do. I don't think it's sustainable. I think that at some point the Chinese Communist Party is either going to have to evolve and allow more democracy, or they're going to get overthrown. It might take a really long time, and there might be a war in between that, but you say genocide is next? Well, I think it's, how do I say this? A lot of people think that, genocide, that's that like a horribly awful thing that can only happen when some terribly awful person gets into power and does something crazy like Hitler did, and that will only happen like once in a lifetime and yada, yada, yada. No, it's not. Genocide is a part of natural human behavior. It is like in their genes. Like the reason that we're humans and we are not Neanderthals or any of these other, humanoids that apparently existed and were intelligent is because of genocide, right? We have survived because we were the most brutal. And that is why you see genocides happen in history over and over and over and over again. In almost every society. Everybody wants to act like it's only something the Nazis did. No, ridiculous. The only thing that the Nazis did was industrialize it. Right? But even in freaking America with the Indians, there was a genocide. That what we did to the Indians was a genocide, guys. Straight up, it was. And there was a genocide against entire classes of people instead of just based on race, but against entire classes of people in communist Russia and in Vietnam. It is a thing. Yeah. And so we say, a genocide in here or anywhere, it's not a thing, and we're like entirely shocked that China is doing it. But I really think that the way you should be thinking of it is that it's the likely thing to happen and that you have to actively work against stopping it. Like a digital vaccine passports, you know as well as I do that their true purpose will be in those apps, terms of service, and community guidelines. Not so sure I know about that. You don't have to use the app. You can still print it out. A lot of people on the left are basically in agreement in general and broad way about what needs to be done. Yeah, because they don't care about your liberties or your freedoms. They claim that they don't. They do. But when you actually look at the people that are in power and the people that are actively engaged in the Democrat Party and are like out on the streets protesting, they don't give a fuck about your freedom of speech. They don't give a fuck about your ability to move about the country. They don't care about your ability to provide for yourself and life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. These people would throw you in a gulag if they could. No joke. And you know how we know that? Because they say it every day. You go on Reddit and read the communist subreddits. They would be all in on if they could send every Trump supporter to a re-education camp. They would do it. They tweet about this stuff all the time. They don't care about that stuff. To them, all that matters is power and getting it. So of course everybody on the left has a general broad agreement about what needs to be done. Because to them, what they want to do matters more than your freedom. Hopefully I don't get banned from YouTube for saying that, but it's the truth. You couldn't mathematically prove COVID is an existential crisis? Yeah, I don't think that it is an existential crisis. I think that if we had done nothing, that a bunch of older people would have died, but society would move on. I think that if the media had treated it in a certain way, that it could have passed, and it would have been something that only people really interested in virology or in news would really even know about. So you don't think it's about saving people's lives? I think that basic human freedoms are more important than saving everybody's lives. There is a limit, guys. If you say that it's about saving lives, then what's stopping the government from coming in and saying, okay, you have to believe exactly what we want you to believe. You have to do it for work exactly what we tell you to do for work. You have to be in the exact locations that we tell you to. You have to say exactly what we tell you to because we think that it will save lives. What's the limit? There's no limit when you use that standard. It can literally kill you. Lots of diseases can kill you, but the chances of it killing me are low, and I've had it and I didn't die. It was Quite mild, actually. It was probably the mildest cold I've ever had. Don't you think you would be arguing the point if there was a couple of loved ones around you on ventilators? Okay, number one, people that I know have died on ventilators. Number two, people that I know have died. My sister died because of the lockdowns. So don't tell me that it's just about human lives, guys. And yes, if I was sitting down and I was saying my personal freedom to be able to say what I want is more important than your grandma on the ventilator, I say yes. Every instance I say yes. Why? Because that's what America is about. You have constitutional freedoms. The government is not allowed to infringe on your rights, period. End of story, ever. And you can come in and you can say, hey guys, there is a virus. We would appreciate it if you all stay home and social distance and have masks on, and everybody does that. That's fine. But when the government comes in and they say, okay, now, unless you have the papers that we give you, you can't go somewhere. That's infringing upon your constitutional freedoms. It cannot be done. And I don't care how many lives are saved from vaccine passports. It's not constitutional. Wah. This COVID can cause pneumonia. That's what kills you. Sure. They can make you have a license to drive. A license is not a constitutional right written out in the Constitution. Like, we're literally looking at people are trying to implement a system where if you don't take a vaccine, you won't be able to have a job. How is that constitutional? How can you possibly argue they're depriving you of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? They are hitting at the core of constitutional rights, and they're saying you can't have your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness unless you take the vaccine. It's not constitutional. Either way, people are still dying. Well, of course people are going to die in mass numbers. I don't care if it infringes upon constitutional rights. Because again, if it was about saving lives, you would allow the government to do anything. Where is the line? Are you going to allow the government to strap you to a chair and plug your brain into a computer where you're forced to do absolutely everything that they tell you to do? Because it might save lives? Come on, there's a limit. France has announced that a nationwide lockdown is being contemplated due to a COVID surge. Okay, the freedom to kill people is not a constitutional right. They're making straw man arguments, right? Talk about a right that is enumerated in the Constitution. It seems like there is some buying pressure here in the tenure, but it's not enough to get it to new highs. It is a straw man. You're saying, is it my freedom to kill my enemies? No, it's not a constitutional right. That kills the argument right there. You're comparing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to killing people. Come on. That is as straw man as it gets. That's not like an attack on you. I'm just saying that, like, in terms of like having a real conversation, pretty ineffective argument. Straw men can't get COVID. But here's the question to you. What's the limit? What is something that the government, freedom, the government can't take away from you to save lives? You're not allowed to stop someone else's pursuit of happiness. There you go. You can't tell people that they so this whole thing where like businesses have literally been shut down, that's not constitutional either. Now, that one is kind of borderline. I think that if you went and took that to the Supreme Court, you might lose. But in my opinion, it shouldn't be constitutional. Are we going to get rid of cars? Are we going to get rid of backyard pools? Yes. Nobody should have the right to drive anymore because cars kill people. What's the limit? What's the limit? Like straight up, if you get to the point where they can limit you can't where you can work based on whether you've had a vaccine, when you can go to the store based on when you've had the vaccine, I like, where's the line at that point? You know, there's all of these lines. There's like, okay, here's safety and here's complete freedom. Okay. And the United States is somewhere over here, and you keep taking steps and steps towards we're giving up freedoms in exchange for freedom. And now you're here and you're saying, okay, some people can't work because they don't have the vaccine. What other step can you take after that? They can do anything they want at that point, because all of the other things that you can do, they're not another step over here. They're just higher or lower they're on the Y plane, you know? But murder is not a constitutional right. It goes under the no shirt, no service law. Okay, but you're sure. So can you say that the government can make certain regulations and restrictions regulating commerce? Well, I would say that the government had already gone too far in our lives. Okay, but the Supreme Court has found that they can do some things, right? Like that they can impose some like the government can restrict you from having a fully automatic rifle, for instance, right? Okay. So they can put some restrictions on, but the point that I'm making is that if they can restrict your business or your employment or where you can even go in public based on whether you've had a vaccine, then there is literally no limit at that point. The government can do whatever it wants. If the Supreme Court came in and said, oh, yes, actually, the government can say that if you don't have the vaccine, that you can't have a job. Or if you don't have a vaccine, you're not allowed to go out in public. And the Supreme Court upheld that, then any challenge that would go to the Supreme Court challenging a law on the grounds of it being unconstitutional would get rejected, would be upheld too. There would be that. It's like you can't go any further extreme. That am I clear? I don't know. If you don't have a social security number, you can't work. Well, that's not true in practical sense. I have to say, though, that a social security number is a pretty trivial thing compared to vaccine, right? Everybody that's a legal U.S. citizen will have a social security number or can obtain one. That's not a... Do you think that they're going to break the other side of this at 06? I'm thinking they might be able to drop to 04.5 really easily. Let's see what they do. I can walk into a grocery store and buy food without a social security number. There you go. Vaccine should not be forced. I would agree. In imposing restrictions on people based on whether or not they've had a vaccine, I just don't think that that's constitutional. Go and work there without one? I would. I quite literally would be 100% okay going and working in, well, not working, but if I knew that my friend had coronavirus, I would have zero. Oh man, what are you saying? Yeah, never cease to be amazed by people who could rationalize themselves into a cage as long as the government expert or brand were telling them it's the right thing to do. There you go. Is it? Well, but it's the same thing in trading, right? People want someone to tell them what to do. They don't want to have to do all the work themselves. Go to public school without vaccinations. I would have no reservations going to a public school without a mask. I would have no reservations going to a friend's house where I knew that my friend had coronavirus without a mask. Because I've already had it. Just me. I'm pretty confident that I understand what the risks are and the science behind it, and that I'm not at risk. Especially since I've already had it. So for me, the vaccine is kind of an interesting thing, right? Because it's like, well, you got to see you have it, I mean, for like one day, I guess. Anyone noticed pneumonia tolls? Well, I'm sure that a lot of people went, or influenza. I'm sure that a lot of stuff got categorized as coronavirus that maybe wasn't. I don't know. Anyways, but for me, it's kind of an interesting situation because one, they say don't get the vaccine if you've had it recently, but it's been 3 months. And then they say that like your immunity goes away after a certain amount of time, but they didn't test that quite in the same way that they tested your immunity for the vaccine, right? So I don't know, like, what are the chances of somebody that's had it getting reinfected? That hasn't been shown, I don't think. I think that they've shown that you can get it multiple times, but like, what is the actual percentage chances that you're going to get it? And more importantly, if you get reinfected, how severe of a case can it actually be? We don't have any long-term studies on side effects of vaccine on large populations. I don't know. I feel like I'm not really concerned about long-term effects. So the way this vaccine works is kind of weird because it uses messenger RNA. So understand that what happens is you go in and you have this messenger RNA that ends up going into cells, and then they produce that antibody, right? And then my understanding is that once it's been messenger RNA has been used, it disappears. Okay, so long-term effects from it, I don't see how that would be a thing. But, you know, what are all of the factors and stuff that they are testing for when they're doing these vaccines and stuff? Anyways, I'm not sure what they are. There's certainly things that they look for, and I don't understand what causes those things. But if I had not already got it, if I had not already caught the virus, I would not be concerned about taking the vaccine. But when people start to say you have to have had the vaccine to have some of your civil liberties, then all of a sudden I'm like, Like, the thing that's funny about it is that according to who was it? I think it was Bank of America that did the report, but I could be wrong. They were looking at the number of confirmed cases plus vaccinations, and that in many states, including my state, that they had already reached the percentage threshold of the population that is traditionally considered to be herd immunity. So we're getting this thing where there's this huge push to coerce everybody into getting vaccinated when, by all accounts, it's over. Right? Like, can you imagine? Let's just wait a year. Okay, well, let's say maybe could be more waves or something. Who knows? Right? There's still some open question about some of this. So let's say that it's been a year. We'd be in a year, and then people are still pushing this. We need to. Anybody that doesn't get vaccinated, they need to have their civil rights taken away. Why? Because at that point, it's not because it's saving people or because it changes anything about the trajectory of the pandemic. It's to control people. And I say, there's a good possibility that we're already to that spot. Anyways, I was reading some stuff that, like, initially in the UK, they told pregnant women not to take the vaccine. And I'm like, well, why? I don't know, because they don't know what the effects of mRNA would be on a young person. But then they did a trial on kids, and they said that it was effective in kids. I don't know. I'm not super concerned about the long-term effects of it. And I'm not going to say, like, that's kind of like the same thing I was complaining about with Fauci the other way, when he's saying, well, we don't know about this and we don't know about this. And like, well, yeah, but what evidence do you have to suggest that it would actually be a problem? Just because you don't know doesn't mean that it would be a problem, right? Well, the E-mini has been kind of flat here. We're going to open here in a minute. No, you cannot rob people of their constitutional rights if they refuse to undergo an elective physical procedure. This is a bridge too far. Notice what Tesla did yesterday at 591 and now 646 premium. You know, I had a dream about Tesla last night. I had a dream that Tesla announced a new, smaller Cybertruck. And then everybody realized that they still hadn't delivered on the original Cybertruck. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Now, like, they're chomping at the bit going into the open. Here we go. You don't think a vaccine passport would happen? I think that if Biden tries to impose a vaccine passport on the nation, so if they make a program that allows there to be a vaccine that sets it up so that an application exists and people can download it and things like that, I think the Biden administration is already working in that direction. and then businesses can choose to use it or not. But if the government imposes a regulation that restricts your movement or what you can do based on whether or not you have the vaccine passport, I do not believe that that would stand muster at the Supreme Court. Not for a second. Now, some states will impose that sort of a thing, and I guess maybe people will push against it, and by the time that it goes to trial and anything happens, it will be like too late anyway. Nobody will care anymore anyways. That's what I think will happen. There you go. The government will have to do it. Companies will do it voluntarily to avoid liability. Yeah. Now, with companies doing it, one, I do have an issue where when companies violate your rights, like it's just as bad as if the government was doing it, and that there should be some things that companies aren't allowed to do. In this case, I don't think it's so much a concern, because I think that there's a significant enough people that aren't going to have a vaccine or don't want to get the vaccine that it would hurt their business to impose that kind of a restriction. So if there is any kind of a passport thing like that, I don't think that it would last past the summer. Okay. Zero Hedge tweeting about Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure plan. There quite a bit of volume traded at 39.59. Now we're up a good 3 points. It looks like a lot on the chart, but that's mostly because the overnight action was so constrained. It's moving up though. Basically, I don't want to touch it yet. Futures surging because JP Morgan predicted tens of billions in quarter-end pension selling. Oh, I got what they're saying. So JP Morgan said that there's probably going to be a lot of rebalancing where they're going to have to sell stocks and buy treasuries. And the last time that the analysts made a prediction like this, that there was going to be selling, nothing happened, and it actually ended up being like a big up. Now, that was back when like SoftBank was still around. So, but that's the joke, is that they're doing it to contradict JP Morgan. I don't know. They're buying it up. It's maybe 2,000 contracts so far up. That's not significant. So let's just hold up. Chances of them coming back down and testing the other side of that open are pretty high. It looks like Treasury's finally getting 07 to go bid again. They're going to have to be hitting into that 07.5. They might need, it looks like the 5 year's not really following along so much yet, so they might need the 5 year to tick up. Balance there, and the inside in the 5 year is pretty equal. You can see the 10-year kind of trying to smack it back into line, but I think if they hit that, I would be willing to take it. So, okay, so there was a little bit of a pullback, but it came right back up. Yes. Okay. Well, I don't like them pulling at 06. I See, if I was somebody sitting on a big sell meta order to sell today, I wouldn't be selling it right now, would you? Oh yeah, Chicago PMI in 10. Yeah, I would wait for the PMI. I would wait for the 10 o'clock news, the pending home sales, right? Wait for the liquidity to increase, hopefully. Maybe even do it a lot of it at the close. Kind of like yesterday. And somebody was asking me if you could get the E-mini from top to bottom. I feel like that for a DOM, I only need half of the screen. I could consider getting rid of this and replacing it with DOMs for like gold and everything, but so there's a big order at 06 and they pulled it. Oh, you know what? I don't have my sounds on. That's okay. How long has it been like that? Maybe people like it. Maybe you guys prefer it that way. I forget what it was called. Oh yeah, it was called Chirp. I'll put it in the E-mini. So 500 is 64. That pulled. That's interesting. There we go. Zero Hedge says WTF stocks explode higher at U.S. cash open. I mean, it's maybe 5 points, dude. Dow Russell 2000 all spiked dramatically. Okay, not that big. The U.S. cash open, NASDAQ did not instantly then decided to join the party because somebody must know something, right? Okay, well, now the Treasury's getting dashed there a little bit. Pulling. No move in bonds or the dollar at all, but gold did pop a little. Don't even bother to rationalize this moment. Oh, come on. I mean, it wasn't that much. I don't want to say like, oh, it could totally test. I mean, I said there's still a chance that it could test the other way. They kind of made an attempt and it's still bid. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know if that possibility is as strong anymore. You know? Oh, you're back. Well, we're just watching this. The E-mini's been bid this whole time. They appear to be running into the wall, but maybe they know, maybe they have an inkling about what the PMI is going to be, right? So the early traders are going to get it here in a second. You can see like a lot of working on the offer there in the E-mini. Okay, so here, I think that the Treasury insides on the Treasuries are pulling here because of the PMI. So I'm going to pull that order. $30. Strength after the open here. Desk is hearing some murmurs of less sellers. Okay. Well, it might be the case that they did a lot of it yesterday. So there was a lot of market on closed sells yesterday. And the upside was really constrained yesterday too. Okay. Not seeing a reaction. I'm not sure these vaccines, since they're mRNA, well, like here again is where I'm like, yeah, but what reason do I have to doubt it? Look at that, 1920 at 39.65. What the heck? He moved it down. There's some. That is highly unusual. Okay, you mentioned the duals. Well, I have DOMs over here. This is just a one tick chart with histograms that are based on the level 2. And this is Jigsaw's Vista chart, which is basically the background is colored based on the market depth. So we got PMI coming out. Remember that this number gets released early to subscribers. So they already have the number. I didn't see like a direct reaction when it hit. The E-mini is turning down a little bit. The treasuries have been turning down a little bit. Okay, here they're getting it. So it's 66.3 versus our estimate 60.7. So it was good. They're going to buy off of that. So let's dump. Oh, that's not what I wanted to have happen. Let me just, I didn't want to take a long on that. Hearing Tim Bull that they are not recommending it to pregnant women or people with food allergies, it makes me hesitant. Plus, in my 30s and not worried about getting sick. So I have been seeing that floating around in conservative circles, but again, I ask, what is the specific concern? This is just like this thing is, it's always is like, okay, if somebody says something, so like what kind of empirical evidence and logic do they actually have? Okay, so this is not good. No, I can't hang on to that. Haven't had much good luck in treasuries lately, have I? But this is already not playing out. The selling could still be waiting. But that was pretty strong downside volume in the treasury. And it was a pretty strong PMI print too. I'm concerned about the food allergy issue. Well, if you're susceptible to allergies, then I could see it being a problem. But that was where it's like, where was there some evidence in the trials that, I don't know. It's all kind of weird because they say that like the vaccine is like so very different, but then they're like, oh, but we already know everything about it. I don't know enough about the issue to really do a proper analysis on it, I guess. So I can see the book is still kind of stuck here. There sure are some large orders sitting out there on the E-mini still. There's evidence of the allergy? Okay. That's like one of the problems is that I don't necessarily look at an issue like that enough to be like, what should the public policy be on it? At the moment, I'm mostly concerned about myself and my family. And for me, I see no reason why I shouldn't get the vaccine, but I see no reason why I should too, because I've already had it. So it's kind of like... I live in Utah, so I doubt that they're going to restrict movement or anything based off of that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But in some of these liberal areas, that's where I'm like, it's not okay. There's a lot of trade going through there too. You know, what's another thing that's funny is that when I've had those bad moves against me in the treasuries, I'm dumping at the bottom, which is just kind of like, well, that's just kind of where my risk is. So maybe it's a coincidence, but it's happened enough times that I probably need to look into what's with that. As I understand, the virus mutates just like the flu. Yeah, but it becomes less effective over time, but it's not like, I don't know. This is like goalpost moving again. It's like, oh, okay, so now we have to be locked down forever? They got your number in treasuries, I guess. It's one or the other. It will always be giving me trouble, you know. Doesn't make an argument against it. It means the opposite. We guys deal with it and get well. The I don't know if your argument here is that we get everybody vaccinated quickly and then we'll just destroy the virus and it'll disappear. That's unlikely to happen, from my understanding at least. We can't take the risk of a series of mutations. I mean, if it happens, it happens. Like, what are you going to do about it? You going to keep everybody locked up in their houses forever? There's a possibility of the E-mini turning down here. Shit, missed it. What the what? Okay, was that some news? Well, the squawk just gave me a headline there, but I don't think that was it. May have just been somebody anxious to keep it up. That kind of an order presents an opportunity, though, because he'll need a lot more buying to get back up there to the high because of what he just did. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I kind of feel like I already screwed this straight up. You say ZB putting you to sleep today? Is it that bad? Yeah. Yeah, there's Zero Hedge tweeting, France headed for new national lockdown. Hmm. Still pretty slow here. I'm not sure that a good immune system helps against viruses. That's a good question. Well, from everything that I've heard, that what really puts you at risk is certain complicating factors. And those things aren't necessarily how good your immune system is. It's like, how obese are you? Thinning out a little bit here for the home sales news. Month over month, we're looking for negative 2.9. Wow. It was minus 10? Even he actually jumped a little bit on that. I don't know about that one, guys. Pending home spells, negative 10.6 versus expected negative spot 3. Wow. Okay. What is this? What is this? That is the... Okay. Okay. Hold on. I am done. I cannot explain that one. That is the most bizarre reaction to news I've ever seen. Doesn't do anything for the second. It comes by, the number is absolutely terrible, and E-mini starts spiking hard off of it. Is it because they're going to say, oh, now rates really have to come back? I suppose it could be that. We can take another one if we're so lucky. Somebody really bought it there, didn't they? Look at that. It came all the way back on it, too. Well, $4K or bust, says Icarus in Discord. Well, it could happen, actually, yeah. Especially if treasuries keep buying. They're still a little slow here, though. So I wonder if there's the same order that was kind of buying it ahead of time that kind of caused so much trouble. And it was all because of that pending home sales. Okay. When I was clicking there, I was like, is it reacting to me clicking? There's no way it could be doing that because that's a sim order. But then, no, it's not doing it at that one. So I think it was just a coincidence. It was just messing with my head. This is funny. This whole setup is funny. I mean, it really screwed me up there, didn't it? But like, maybe we'll be okay in the end. But what it did there, effing hilarious. Market panic bid because housing sales are really bad. you can't make this shit up. I mean, probably it's right. This is probably the right call. They are a little long, and like it seems like they're having a hard time continuing to push. It may just end up being like a slow grind up, because I have a hard time seeing like what would make you want to sell it here. If you're one of those big flows that have to sell, I think you could just put all your limit orders out and let them come up into you, you know? It goes all in. Well, so let's look at our VIX and stuff. So at the moment, the E-mini is looking like it's pushing it a little bit. We're above one of my lines. So, okay, so they got 39.81. 4K would be a second target move. I'd say that based on the reaction to that news, it's possible for them to do that, but it's not. It's really sketchy. I'm inclined to say that they will get far, but that they won't get that far. I still see a market with the possibility if a big seller came in, that it could drop really quickly. But the order flow looks pretty persistently long, right? And especially since we had all of that slipperiness down here and we're moving higher, I mean, that tends to mean that they should extend. And in fact, they might even do another 10-point move. What was the move in NASDAQ down to? I don't know. I mean, I didn't see it do that. Hmm. I should note that even though the 10 and the 30-year came back up, that the 5-year didn't. 5-year did not. The funny thing is, if Elon Musk hinted at building it, I wouldn't buy more. Hell no. Dude, if Elon Musk came in and said something about Garlic Coin and Garlic Coin takes off, depending on how far it went, I would start taking profits. It's the move that I'm looking for, and it worked out, and you get out, and hopefully it goes to $100. And if Elon did do something like that, it could go to $100 really quickly, actually. You just look at the volume on it. If somebody bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin, it would move it past $1 probably. VIX is down on a big news day for Biden. That doesn't sound right. Well, yeah, but they're really happy that the pending home sales were bad. The housing market running into some issues here means that interest rates can continue to be low. Okay. Do you see that absorption right there at 17 in the 5-year? And we didn't see it on any of the other instruments. This is interesting. Could have been in the 2-year. No, we didn't see that. 7,000 in the 5-year is a lot. Okay, it goes bid again. The Army Corps of Engineers is working on a machine to capture the energy produced by Volcker as he spins in his grave. I don't think that he would be too opposed to what's going on right now, because he would say, yeah, inflation is low. And that the increases in inflation that we're likely to have over the coming year are likely to be transitory. These guys don't just pull stuff out of thin air, like they have reasons to believe these, to say these things and tell them to the public and make that their policy, So the question is they going to get sucked back into this hole at 39.65? Well, for the moment, there appears to be a little bit of buying support there. Okay. So they did get back to the hole. Now let's see if it's still a thing. It doesn't look like it. They're kind of struggling, but you can see the buyers are trying in the 10-year. It doesn't look like 3965 is a whole anymore, but it's just kind of being lackadaisical at the moment. It could change. Yeah, they're doing a little bit there at 3965 and a quarter. Okay. Let's see it right there. Some demand. $65 staying bid. Or 06 half, rather. Do have oil reported at the bottom of the hour. Dollar's getting crushed pretty hard, and gold is moving up. Silver moving up too. Those both look really good. The wheels on the government go round and round, round and round all the way into the ground. Maybe today is the day to buy silver. I don't know. What do you think? I think a housing number that bad really puts a wrench into the sell treasuries, you know? So one thing I am noticing is that when it goes down, it tends to be going down a couple, it tends to slip a couple of prices. So this kind of looks like buyers pushing up and creating pockets behind them and falling into them. Okay, well, that was a pretty good bull push, but they didn't make a new high yet. I went from feverishly trading a week ago to being really bored and sitting here like Pablo Escobar. Well, when you trade, it kind of gives you a high, And when it turns badly, it really messes with you. Your chemicals, and you start reacting to it differently. Because your brain doesn't associate the taking a lot of positions with the positiveness that it did before, right?
Block buy.
Ooh. Black buy 131.070. Haven't heard that sound in a while. They're still kind of stuck at 67 though. I think it'll take a bit for them to get away from this hole, but when they do, I think they probably have a pretty good upside. Let's see here. Well, I'm not getting in Twitter. Some perspective, we are taking 2% of U.S. 2021 U.S. GDP in public investment for a decade. Huh. Hunter Biden has a book? What? Okay. JP Morgan, what to play on tax headlines risk? So this is another interesting thing is how come you're not seeing any flow or talk about Biden's taxing corporations? Because we know what the rate is going to be, right? Isn't Hunter dead? No, he's well. He's alive and well. Okay, yeah, Treasury's coming back here a bit. Suspected attacker of Asian woman in New York on parole for quote unquote killing his mother with a kitchen knife. What? Okay, that explains a bit. There's this really disturbing video. This guy just like beating on an old lady in New York, and like the door guy didn't do anything. Well, apparently he was on parole for beating his mother with a knife. Take a shot in the dark and say 39.58 bounce higher? Probably. Well, you think that they're going to go all the way back down there to there? It could happen. At the moment, I kind of see a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern, but without the kind of volume that you tend to see on it. Well, the sellers are making some progress there. Oh, you're talking about the guy with the bow? Yeah, that guy was not mentally stable. That one I kind of thought was funny because I definitely saw a lot of people on Reddit and the internet making a big deal out of him and saying, look, here are the white supremacists and they're everywhere and this and that. And I'm like, okay, that's the one crazy guy in Salt Lake. And you say that's representative of everybody in Utah. Okay. Okay, there's the oil numbers. It looks like oil is going up on it. At least the initial move there in oil is up. Well, it's not that Ether Trader says I get you may not trust VWAP, but it has been pretty consistent regressive pattern. Been looking at it as the MM rebalancing point up there with 200 MA. So the first thing is that when you talk about a moving average in the S&P 500, you have to state when you are resetting it. Is it the extended session VWAP or the regular session VWAP? Otherwise, we don't know what you're talking about. But second of all, it's not that I would say that the VWAP is untrustworthy or wrong or anything like that. It's just that it doesn't give you an advantage, right? Like if your whole strategy is VWAP, you're going to need more. Just the regular session or the extended session. They're back up there to 07, but 07 is not pulling. Yeah, the baby wants something. What is it he's freaking out about? Now, when it came back down here, I was really hopeful that it wasn't going to get stuck in that location, and the initial indications were that it wasn't, but it clearly has, hasn't it? They were kind of sneaky at first. Well, not sneaky. People tried to push it out of there, I guess, but it wasn't enough. There's just not. The liquidity is just like it just gets stuck there. And you can definitely see how buyers have lined up on one side and sellers on the other side. And give it significance similar to the 200. You're talking about a 200 minute or you're talking about a 200 day? Like the thing is you can look at VWAP and you can say we're above or below the VWAP. So we're above the regular session VWAP. Well, we have to be above the extended session VWAP too, right? We're above the VWAP. So you know that if you buy, that your buy trades are going to be different from your sell trades because of us being above or below the VWAP. And I've done many studies that show that using VWAP as a filter has significant changes to your strategy, right? But if you come in and you say, okay, when it touches the VWAP, I want to be in or out or whatever the deal is, it probably won't make a good entry. Okay, so we had, that didn't slip, but there was another really crazy buy sweep came through there. Kind of weird. Well, I guess I shouldn't complain. I got a fill there, right? The treasuries reacted to it too, but in the end, treasuries fell down a tick. Investors have been dumping the riskiest bonds issued by Credit Suisse after being left in the dark about the full scale of the hit from the Archegos capital loss. Oh, I see. That might explain why there had been some treasury selling. I treat the VWAP as more a reliable Bollinger when gauging what the market maker may do intraday. It's not a single word of informing in my opinion. Yeah. So like the bands, I used to just trade just with the bands, but it didn't work. So I even had some studies that showed that if you like get a third standard deviation band away from the VWAP, that there's a really high probability of a reversal. for instance. But it wasn't that it was like bad. Like that's the whole thing is it was really good. And there's like some real market behaviors that occur around the VWAP. The problem was that when it doesn't work, the drawdown was way too bad. If someone identifies as a market maker, where they're saying it depends on who's saying it. Well, when I say a market maker, I am generally referring to people that have limit orders out. Liquidity providers. That's how I like to use the term. So when I look at it right now, I can see from the liquidity providers that they have their long positions from 39.64 or so. And the buyers are in the advantage. And if we were to have a more extended move down, I suppose we could get to 39.62 or so. And there's a possibility of a bounce there. Yeah, I'm working through NinjaTrader 8 training to get some empirical behind my feelings of thought process. That's interesting how you see it, because the guy's referencing is all about stops and elements. Well, so here's the issue with stops. Number one, we have no way of proving whether a given market order is it just a market order or if it's a stop order. We can't see stop orders. I have some ways of seeing where you're likely to start seeing people like big players like market makers stop out. But I have done some back testing to say, okay, so if you cross that line, and then can you take it short on the theory that there will be a stop run and it'll just go? And the answer is no, you can't. That crossing that line alone is not enough to let you know that there's going to be a stop run. So there's some issues with stops. Furthermore, because we can't see whether an order is a stop or not, we can't really do the kind of empirical studies about them that would be, you know what I mean? I really want to do that. I think that I could find a really good edge based off of that, but I don't have that data yet. So, but that's where it's like, we do know some things about liquidity, though, and these are well tested and proven. So, what do we know? Well, from about 39.68 to 39.65, there are people willing to sell. And from about 39.63 to 39.65, there are people willing to buy. And the people at 39.65 that really wanted to transact in that location and already traded. And so it there's no liquidity, latent liquidity in that area. And so the buyers and sellers basically get stuck in that area, even though neither side really wants it to stay there. But ergo, if we're able to get a move into, let's say, a new high, it's looking really good there. They haven't crossed the line yet, but it's looking really good. Anyways, okay, so that is what we want. Yep. Okay. Now that we get away from that area, we should run into areas of very low sell side liquidity on this side, and they should just slip through it. Right? I wish I had said that faster so that it'd be doing this, and then you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's a genius. He knows exactly what's going to happen. But now it just sounds like I was just saying it because it was going up, huh? Okay, so right there should be one. Your shot in the dark was, well, it wasn't. I mean, we didn't have a pullback to your price, but we did move up, right? But just remember, I'm trying to like be, I don't know, if I tell you something empirical about the market, it matters, right? Because I don't want to give away the setup or anything, but for those of you that are in here and are paying attention, I'm basically handing to you the thing that you need to know to figure out how I take it. Yeah, look at that at 06, 10K iceberg buy. Yes, but I prefer seeing the pullback to buy that. Well, that doesn't everybody. I can't tell you how many times I've had recently where I've been speaking to somebody like they message me on Discord and they want to share a strategy and they want to backtest it and everything. And the strategy basically involves how do I draw this, or where should I draw this rather? Something that looks kind of like this, right? And they say high or low, and then they buy it here. And there's usually something that they look for as a trigger, like there will be a doji here or something like that. Like here, this would be a good example, is they'll look at it on a 30-minute and they'll see here's a big move, up move, and then there's a doji in a constrained area and then a further up move. Well, it's not wrong. That's the thing. It's not wrong. It's just that like every time you see that pattern, it's not necessarily what's happening. How can you know what's happening? But when we watch the DOM, we know what's happening, right? Well, they were moving up probably because, oh man, where should we put our stop, by the way? I guess I should put it somewhere down in here. Yeah. So we got this big up move, and that was probably people front running the bad housing number, right? The market interpreted it as interest rates are going to stay low for an extended period of time. At least I assume that's why they are. The treasuries haven't gone up nearly as much as they should, if that's what's going on. But maybe they'll come along. Okay, I think that's what happened at least. Okay, and then what happened? They ran into not enough liquidity, right? The move wasn't able to move anymore because of the liquidity situation at 39.65. And as such, we got stuck and had to rotate around that price for a really long time until all of the people that were really willing to sell in that location had done so, right? And then when they're done and the book has rebalanced, they can start buying again and it'll take off, right? I can see it in the DOM. Sometimes you can see it in the chart. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see it in the chart and that's not what's going on. So looking at the chart, I would say, is not a reliable way of doing it to catch the pattern that these people want to see. But it is a pattern. Because if you have a large meta order, you will run into execution limit of your order. And when that's happening to you, that's not good. So what you want to do is you want to wait for the book to rebalance and buy again. And that's how you get more efficient order entry. It's all because of the book. It's all because of the way that a limit order book works. Okay, so we kind of saw a couple of tweets here I wanted to look at. There's this guy, Guru Leaks. Oh, geez. Okay. And Nate Silver was saying something about vaccines, but it had more to do with medical personnel, so. There's this guy on Twitter called Guru Leaks One that retweets a lot of video of people claiming to be trading when apparently they're just on demo and things like that. Which, hey, I trade on demo all the time. I'm just to be clear. You see me take an order, I would just assume that it's a sim trade. I would prefer that everybody just assume it's a sim trade. Honestly. Man, and he points out new people every day. By the way, where was that order that I took off? Orders. $72.25. Awesome. Awesome. I'm thinking downtrend. Well, it could. I'm starting to prefer to see a breakout to make me feel like I got the right entrance. Well, so like that's the thing that's so difficult about breakouts, right? So a lot of traders, something that people will do early on is they'll say, okay, here's this thing, here's resistance. If it goes above this, then I will buy it. And I want to see it do that, and then woohoo, and I can take it off up here, and that's your trade, right? Great. Awesome. But then here's what happens to you. Whoop. Right? Happens all the time. So, buying it on the breakout, usually not the best strategic position to do it. Because why? Well, because you're getting in a situation where market orders are overwhelming limit orders and you're basically chasing it. And so the chances of you catching it up here aren't very good, right? So it would be better for you to just know the situation like we did in this case. We know that this move up was because of the low housing number. We know that this is because of liquidity. And ergo, we know that the chances of it doing this are really high because we know the context and the news and everything else like that, right? So when we do that, then we can do what I did, which is campaign it and try and buy it down in this area and take it off in this area and kind of build a stop so that, you can allow it to come all the way back to here if you need to in order to give you the best chance of this going and letting it run. And then when it comes up here and you see it running into the limit of the order book again, you take it off, which will happen, and it will happen faster than this one did, which is exactly what you see right now, right? You into fitness? I mean, I guess. I do Olympic weightlifting. I wouldn't say that I'm great at it or that I'm hyper dedicated or anything, but I guess because of that, I have acquired a fairly wide body of knowledge about it, but I'm not an expert on fitness. Oops. Anyways, maybe I shouldn't have gone into that much detail about what was going on. I'm kind of sitting here going now like, shouldn't have told them that. Well, so now the question is, can they go further? Probably. So they're above 2 days ago high. That's not all-time high, is it? No, it's not. It's not. All-time high would be 78.25. Oh, I think they're going to do it. I think that they're going to touch 39.80 today. I think we're going to touch 39.80. That's my prediction. I'm not like on what level of dedication that I have to that. I wouldn't be like putting money directly on it getting up there, but to use it as a guide for scalps, sure. But would you anticipate rejection at that level and short it for a quick scalp? I don't think that I would ever look for a level to just automatically reject. No. So here's the thing is that like what you would see let's talk about what that looks like, right? You'll see something where it's like, okay, let's say there's 39.75, right? So it's just going to go up. Now, if we're having a large meta order and that large meta order impact is, trailing off because of the square root law, then you should start to see a distribution in this area and you should start to see a lot of volume trading there and icebergs and things like that because the book is trying to rebalance, right? But if you get up to that spot and the instant that it touches, some sell order comes in and sweeps it down 4 ticks, that means, okay, there might be a large sell meta order at that location. So now we have to go back and look at the situation and everything else like that. Okay, so why would a large sell meta order exist at 39.75 or 39.80, I guess we could say is the one that we're really looking for to get? Why might a large sell meta order exist at 39.80? Well, the reason we picked that level was because of the VIX, right? So I think that we would have to go and look at the gamma at that point, right? First to see if we're seeing that because of gamma. I don't think I would expect to see that though, because I think that the gamma is long and probably if we're pulling away from 3,900 wants to see it at 4,000. So I have to think of another reason. Is there like a piece of news I don't know about or that I'm expecting to see? Maybe Biden's tax plan? Well, that one wouldn't make any sense because why wouldn't they have already been selling? You know what I mean? So in this situation, if I see that, I might take a profit there, but I don't think that I would short it because of that, right? Because what edge do I really have to tell me that level is going to hold and they're going to sell it from there? I don't think I really do. What I would rather see is a large meta order buy and the impact trail off and a short-term downtrend down, and then the entrance of a large sell meta order, preferably off of a piece of news that I know is going on. And now I know, okay, I can sell it. I think that this move is going to be equal in size to this move, in volume to this move, which means we're actually going to go lower. I'm yapping too much today. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to tell people this. Well, there's only 32 viewers today. I think we're okay. But don't keep it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go and link this stream to all your friends. Don't, explain it to other people or any of that stuff. I see it as a lot of the market participants are looking at that level as the training that is out there says it should be. Well, okay, so can that happen? Yes. So for instance, do market-based behaviors exist because of human behavior? So a good example.
Block sell.
I was testing this last night. I was trying to find a strategy to take advantage of it, but I'm not sure that there's enough of an edge in there to do it. But you are twice as likely to see volume come in at the start of a minute than you are at any other second. So like at second 00 of a minute, you are like, there's something like 14,000 lots there, and every other every other second, it's like 7,000 instances there. So you see more orders come in at the beginning of a minute. Now, why would that be? Why would that be? Because I think that in a random Gaussian market, you shouldn't see a distribution like that, right? But we know people, the way they trade, and they're going to program all their algorithms to run on 1 minute charts. So you got all these algorithms and people making trades when the bar closes, and that's why you see all that volume at that time, right? Okay, so can it happen? Yes. Here's the problem. So you're looking for a group behavior to happen at a specific location. What kind of information do you have? What kind of empirical information do you have to suggest that it will actually be there? I don't think that we really have any. It's kind of a hunch. It's a guess, you know? And I'm not saying it's wrong to trade off of that sort of a thing. I mean, some people, they trade off of that sort of thing and they make money, but this is kind of questionable, right? So and you kind of like, well, okay, so you say just my observations from my time in the market. You got to be careful with that one too, because the market can really deceive us, right? Unless you've really like studied it and done the numbers on it and you know what the percentages are on it, because you might say, oh, it happens most of the time, and then go back and do the math and find out that it happens more often than not, but only by 1%. So then I must only have been seeing it because of my own biases, right? And I think that most retail traders try and trade off of that sort of a thing, and that's why they get screwed over, because the market is practically set up to get you to think those things, you know? But it's like that with any level, right? It's like I can see that the liquidity at this moment that, you know, there's a problem there, right? But coming in and saying off of the open that they're going to run into the 39.65 and have that problem is like, no, you can't. I don't think that there's any way to accurately predict it that far in advance. But what you can see is the instant that it touches it, and you can watch how it reacts to it, and you can kind of see it. Oops. Well, by the way, I only just noticed the book is pretty thick in the 10-year. Past information does not guarantee future significance. It doesn't. Yeah. I can only say a situation is a certain status of the market exists at this exact moment, and that status tends to persist. That's it. And when that happens, what it really means is that it's going to just stay there. And does it go up or down from there? I don't know, unless you know what the news is. That's the only way I know how to determine what's this going to do after that. Oh, I got filled there, yeah? Good. Excellent. Well, I started out bad. So the thing is that I took, let's see here, how many was it? How close were they? Yeah, but within the same 10 minutes or so, I took 4 trades in the E-mini that didn't really work out. 3 were sell, 1 was buy. Why didn't the buy work out? That was at 66? Oh, okay. So I see what happens here. What happened here was that because of the news and the move, and I got in so late into the move, I got in and I don't think I realized that we were having the liquidity problem in that location. And so I took a bunch of trades that I shouldn't have. But I guess I redeemed myself by getting the move in the end, right? And I'm going to put this up here because I said 39.80, right? Oh, yes. Oops. I hate it when that happens. I hate when you have like an open file dialog and it doesn't open up on the screen that you want it to. That is really annoying. Where the heck is everybody today? I don't know. We might have scared them. We might have scared them away with all our talk about the Rona. But you know what? We've been a little bit lower lately. We've been like 30 instead of 40, 50. So it's fine. It ebbs and flows, I guess. Plus, I was pretty frustrated yesterday, so that didn't help. Still getting a lot of likes, by the way, guys. Thank you guys very much. 18. I remember back when it was like getting 16 was like we had to try really hard, you know? Oh, I had a little brown out there. The lights are all on. I think we're okay. I bought a DFV beer last night. It's called I'm Not a Cat, and it has a cat suit on the can. What? Okay. What time is Biden's speech? It's not until after the market closes, I believe. I think it's like it's going to be at 4:15 is my recollection. Let's come over here. I know how to look this up. It will be at 16:20 Eastern Time. Okay, well, they've pushed up a little bit further, but it's still kind of there. There's still these big orders around it. There's one at 39.70, there's one at 39.75. I'm not sure if I would read those orders individually as anything too significant because they're at such even numbers. I think it just kind of says to me that there's a good amount of people willing to trade in the E-mini today. Makes sense. Just like with there in the Treasury, there's a good amount of people trading the Treasury. I heard that his speech was going to be what people were looking for to move the market today. Remind me not to watch that streamer anymore. Well, yeah, so here's the thing about that. I would think that Joe Biden's infrastructure plan would be a significant thing for the markets, yeah? Now, the issue is how much do we already know, right? So there had been a lot of reports about what they wanted to put in the plan for a while. Okay. We knew that there would be tax increases. There was even talk about wealth taxes, right? This comes out, and the administration gave some details yesterday, last night. They're talking about the corporate tax rate going to 28%, right? So my first thought is the actual speech going to reveal anything that we didn't already know? I'm doubtful on that. But then the other thing is that did the announcement that we got yesterday tell us anything that we didn't already know? Well, I'm going to say yes, because there were things that we suspected, but that we didn't actually know for sure. But then has the market actually reacted to it? I don't think they have. So it seems to me that, at least for the index, that more infrastructure is equal to higher taxes for the market overall, and so they're okay with it. I don't know. Maybe we will see a move tonight after Biden does something. Another possibility is that the month-end flows are just and the economic numbers that we got today are just more important. You know, anytime that you get an economic number like that, it can matter. So But overall, I think I'm interested to see what happens next week. Like we're going to get the non-farms number, which a lot of people are expecting it to be huge, by the way. And then we'll see what they start doing in April, how the market behaves. Does the market continue to just be like, buy the dip and everything else like that? It's possible that behavior could continue. But things might also cool off a little bit. I'm still kind of waiting for the volatility to just, fall off. LIVX up 12%. Wow. On what? So your first question, why? LiveX Media Incorporated. I see. So they're one of those media companies that have been down with the rest of the media. So it might be just because of that. But if you made 12% on it, you don't get 12% on something every day. They're going to come all the way back down again? Really? That treasuries, The buy-in is definitely there, but like the market makers aren't getting out of the way. That's interesting. Well, we got about 15 minutes here. It does look like that the book has just kind of slowed down here. So I think I will take it right there on the E-mini. And we will start to manage an exit over here in the treasury. Well, there's an iceberg still at 06.5, so they're moving their icebergs up. That's good, I guess. We don't want that on there anymore. The VIX is lower now at 19 than the 2020 average of 20. Well, don't look at that 2020 average, Ether. Nah. So I'm looking for it to go to like, well, let's pull up a chart. Let's do the index. Turn off the range estimate and go to a daily chart. Okay, so look at it from before 2020, right? And yeah, you can look at like this range here, sure. But really what has been the story in the VIX? Volatility dies down and it comes back to the floor. So what is the floor? Somewhere around 12, right? So what a lot of people are looking for is for the VIX to move from this box back to this box, right? When it does so, the behavior of the markets will probably be markedly different. It'll be hard to day trade. This whole thing where everybody is long all the time and everybody just makes money all the time off of their day trades, and you can just chase whatever the most popular stock is that day and you make money. That's not going to work when that VIX comes back down, right? You will make money if you swing trade it and you stay in all day. But all of these people that are like chasing the big movers and stuff are likely to get stuck in positions, and it's not going to go as far as they want, and it will be a brawl for that cash. Everyone is ready to bull market. Yeah. So I want to see the VIX come back to 16. That's where I'm looking for it. 16. Oh, somebody was saying on the infrastructure that they should do a Maglev train. You know what? I would love to see a high speed rail like, and I mean really a high speed rail like the vacuum sealed trains sort of a thing. If they had that across the United States, man, and you could travel across the country in less than an hour, that would make a big difference, wouldn't it? That would make a big difference, especially for anybody along that line. Problem is making it, because in California, they put all of that money for a railway, right? And it just went nowhere. Water slides everywhere would be sweet. Oh, man. Okay, so that was a pretty good uptick, taking out 5,000 contracts there at 07. It's 2,400 miles an hour. Oh, I don't know. I think that they were saying that like they could get it to travel at Mach 1 or something like that. Or they were saying that like you could travel to Las Vegas on a train, or I could travel to Disneyland on a train in 30 minutes. Right. Like I could literally live in Utah and commute to California every day. That would be practical to do with that kind of a train system. Yeah, it would matter. It would help. Although I'm hoping, though, that what they really do is they build infrastructure around the places where we have real problems, right? Like bridges that are falling apart and stuff. The problem is just, with the government that a lot of us gets wasted, But hey, infrastructure, investment in infrastructure tends to work well. That tends to be good for the economy. It's just, what's the price? Do we have to have higher taxes? Well, if the taxes went back to like what they were under Obama, and of course they won't be exactly what they were under Obama, it'll be different, but I suppose that's okay. But if they start getting into things like wealth taxes and all, or value added tax, then there could be real problems with it, right? If Joe Biden comes out tonight and says, "Oh, we're going to do a value added tax," and then Manchin came out and said, "Oh, I support that." I think he kind of already said that he would. Then maybe it could be a problem, right? But at the moment, it seems like the market is okay with it. Okay. Senate Minority Leader McConnell says he is not likely to support Biden's infrastructure plan due to the massive tax increases and potential effect on the national debt. And there's another issue. Will the plan that Biden announced tonight actually have a chance of getting passed? Because especially if it has tax increases in it, it's going to be a difficult pull for them. Most of us would be under the thresholds of a truly effective wealth tax, so I'm not worried about being a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. Well, there's the issue, though, is that they say what they say about it. Okay, that's not enough to pay for what they're talking about. At some point, you're going to end up getting taxed. Like, I can almost promise you. They're going to hide it the first round by taxing the corporations instead of you, which is really a tax on you because it's just going to increase the price of everything, right? That's how it goes. Well, E-mini dropped a little bit there. You know, they put in a wealth tax. I think there would be real problems with the wealth tax. There's that one. Another proposal, I don't know if this is in his plan or not, but another proposal was that capital gains taxes are taxed at your regular rate instead of the capital gains rate if your earnings that year are over a certain threshold. That could be a big problem too, right? And any of those things, because what they do is they force people to liquidate their stocks. What's EdgeClear saying here? Micros. Micro DAX and micro Euro stocks futures coming. Oh, yay. Now, if only that micro oil could come along, huh? Which is more volatility, which means opportunity. Nah, well, yeah, but I don't know. Just remember, when indexes are moving down, you get really fast moves, and if you get in at the right spot, then you can get really great trades. But if you don't, then it's a complete nightmare. Right? Whereas on the long side, they take forever to work out and they can be really frustrating, but it's easy because all you got to do is just buy and hold it. Right? So if that happens, would that really mean better trade opportunities for us? Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? And most retail traders aren't going to navigate that correctly. And I have certainly been... I have certainly gotten involved in places like that because I thought that I had opportunity because of those reasons and just ended up getting diced up, right? Kind of like I have been right now. Like I feel like that there's some good opportunities available for me because of the month end and everything, but I've made a lot of wrong calls and it's been difficult for me. And I've been managing positions. I've been campaigning to manage my positions instead of just putting one contract on and letting it run. So it's not optimal. And if I was trading my live accounts, I likely would have, taken 2 losers on those and then just been like, screw it and be done for the day, right? That or FOMO, losing control of yourself and just blowing out. Now all of a sudden everybody on Twitter is tweeting about Fauci. It's kind of weird how that changed. But you're assuming the market stays the same. Perhaps we see a more Forex-like market with less positive drift if there were forced liquidations. Well, I think that the S&P 500 and futures in particular behave differently when we are going up versus when we are going down. And that the downside movement can be more difficult to trade as a result. And there's a reason for that, and I think that's highly unlikely to ever change. Perhaps we see more forex with less positive drift if there were forced liquidations. I don't know, man. So like the problem is I don't know why the market hasn't already been talking about this, but we'll see it, right? Like next week, what we should be looking for is all of the analysts are going to go and look at the taxes, and they're going to say, how does this tax affect every company on the S&P 500? What is the net effect on their earnings? And as a result, how should that impact the index? And then we can see how much it really changes things. All I know is that when they took that tax rate down under Donald Trump, that the market just did one of the craziest up moves I've ever seen in my life. And if you think this thing after COVID is crazy, I mean, like, yeah, you get that sort of thing off of bottoms and everything. But that first year that Donald Trump was president, before the tariff thing all came through, man, they really liked that tax decrease. And one could only think that if they take the taxes back up, that the markets will decline just as much, you know? That's why I'm kind of like weirded out that we haven't seen any real measurable impact on the markets yet. Discovery was one of the stocks that blew up Archegios, and it is crazy high today. Wow, 133. That's weird. The guys over at Tasty Trade that are usually short hated that period in markets. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It wasn't a month and a half. It was more like, I'd say it was like 9 months, right? That was the first 9 months of his presidency. I remember we were looking at it so many times, and a lot of people were saying it was a top, and I was like, well, I mean, based on how far it's gone, I understand saying that it could be a top, but I don't see behavior that I feel is indicative of a top, you know? I don't know. It just kept going. It was a time. And we were streaming at that time. That's kind of when we started streaming. Yeah, but it was historical because the market made a record number of consecutive updates before seeing a down day. Yeah, it was. It seems to me like one of the things that really bothers me in economics is multipliers. So what they got is there's formulas that are common in like fundamental to Keynesian economics. And one of the things that they do is they go in and they say, okay, so if we do this thing and we do this thing, what is the multiplier effect that we get on it, right? And then you want to choose the stimulus that's the most effective. Okay. So when they go through and they analyze all of these, the type of stimulus that the research has shown or suggest would be most effective are going to be things like unemployment insurance, which I think makes a lot of sense. Okay. Unemployment insurance makes a big impact because that's the people being unemployed and not having any source of income that's like the most detrimental. Okay. But another thing that they have a multiplier on is a tax holiday. So it seems to me, so there was a tax holiday and there was checks. And giving people money directly at the time was not seen to be a significant help to the economy. The multiplier that they gave it was not very high. Well, how much did it affect GDP? I'm going to say I don't think that the checks, giving people the checks really affected GDP very much. But it certainly affected the stock market, didn't it? Okay. So maybe the multiplier that we get is wrong or isn't the whole story, right? Well, if that's the case with the checks, then I think that we have to say that we have to consider the effects of like a tax holiday. What if they had done a tax holiday instead of giving everybody a check? Why do they give everybody a check instead of a tax holiday? Isn't it the same thing? Shouldn't the result to you in your pocket be the same? I think you know why they do that. Market gave no fucks about R squared. No, because not everyone has a job. Okay, sure. That's a good point, actually. It wouldn't target the people that are the most in need of it because it wouldn't be people that have jobs. That's true. That's true. So I think that you would have to say that the multiplier of it would certainly have to be less than the checks. Although I would argue that assuming that it's the same amount of money, that it would probably still have the same base effect on the stock market that it did. I don't know. So here's another thing that weirds me out. Unemployment is like really high, 10% or something like that, right? Where are you seeing the negative effects of that? Like, I would never know. I don't talk to anybody that's been perpetually unemployed because of this. I guess I don't talk to that many people nowadays, but I mean, I'm just, I'm kind of at a loss to explain some of those sorts of things, Yeah, a lot of people retweeting this, pointing out that Discover just is going crazy high. But you know what? If a huge fund was forced into a margin call and then there was a hedge funds and retail traders and everybody else bought the dip because it was just a margin call and it was a meta order of the same size, you should expect it to go to a new all-time high. Doesn't necessarily mean that you want to buy it right here, though, which is what I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to do. But maybe it does go higher because they all do that. I don't know. This market does all sorts of crazy things we can't explain, does it? The U.S. hides its poverty gap well from the masses? Maybe. The problem is that, here's my theory. Big theory, okay? Oh, you know what? It's time for me to get going. Maybe I shouldn't start my theory. I think that the people that are unemployed are people that don't necessarily need to have that money to live. Like, they're going to be young people that are living with their parents right now anyways, or something like that, I'm going to bet you that a really good portion of them fit into that, and that maybe that's why it doesn't seem like it's so awful. Wow, Robinhood. Oh wait, Babylon B retweets not the B. Robinhood trader looking at $800,000 tax bill, even though he only made $45,000 trading stocks because of wash sell rules. How is that actually possible? Nah, they must be misunderstanding it. Here's a Forbes article. Oh my gosh. Well, there you go. Keller says, I've been perpetually unemployed because of Corona. Yes, but if you don't get a job, are you potentially going to starve? It's kind of what I was getting at. Okay, so he made $45,000. Wow, he had between 200,000 and 2 million in trading volume per day. and doing 10 to 50 trades a day, according to Morningstar. In 2020, he transacted $45 million in total trades for a net profit of $45,000 by year end. He received his 1099-B and input it into TurboTax into his charge, and he had a $1.4 million in capital gain income and a bill of just over $800,000. How is that possible? Oh, okay. Traded all popular stocks you see in the media all year, but he never knew about the wash sell rules. He booked a profit, but was disallowed all the losses because he never once waited the 30 days on those stocks to book the loss, added Rook. Oh, I get you. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying yesterday, Keller, about the wash sell rule, is that I think that this is something that only matters if you're actually making money. So what he's saying is that he made money, but then he had the losses. He wasn't able to count them on his on any of them because you have to wait 30 days. Well, there you go. There's another reason for you to day trade futures, guys. Oh man, maybe I should make a video about that. We should learn a little bit more about the wash sale rules, because it's I have to admit it's not something that I know very much about, because I don't have to deal with it. I trade futures. This is why you trade futures. But what is considered a similar security? Because it can't be like, oh, you bought GameStop and then you don't, you're not able to count your loss from GameStop because the next day you went and bought AMC, you know? Like, if it's like that, then that would be like really, really problematic, right? If people are going in and out of names quickly and they're generating losses and have offsetting positions, they've generated those losses within 30 days of a purchase, those losses get suspended. Given that you cannot offset a realized gain in a specific year, you would still need to cough up money to cover the taxes. Man, for that guy, that's crazy. There's got to be more to it than that, though. There's no way to, I don't know. Well, that's interesting. But then how do the big day traders do it then? If you day trade something on one day and you lose money on it, you just can't trade it for 30 days? Well, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. See you guys later. What should we call today? I'm not gonna change the title. I'm just gonna leave it what it is. End the stream. The losses are rolled over. Okay. Well, could it mean that he could book it? Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Catch you guys later. Stay profitable.